Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with another Kamihime project video. Now, first and foremost, if you had seen one of my community posts, yeah, there's been some videos I've been trying to pump out, but it's been a little bit of a delay because there's a lot of crap going on my end. But I will do some event videos and whatnot in order to try and get the info out there and everything. Also, speaking of info, I'm going to have a link in the comments. If you have a Twitter account and have followed the English version of Kamihime Project on Twitter, then there's a chance you may be one of the 10 Haruhi winners. There's actually somebody on my Discord that has one, so I haven't won myself, so that means I don't have Haruhi, so you have one very last chance to try and get her. But anyways, you may want to check that link just in case, because you need to contact them through Twitter in order to confirm those characters, because they're probably going to ask for your player ID and everything through that. But anyways, there's also 3,000 magic jewels we've gotten from the retweet campaign. I, for one, have pulled 2 SSR characters from the White Bell gacha. That's the 3rd SSR I've gotten from that gacha that isn't her, sadly. But anyways, there's that too, so check your inventory. Anyways, finally getting on to this. This is the current event we're having right now, which is a Valentine's Day event. And it's dark based, so you're going to want a light team for the best advantage. But there's also, of course, the elemental mission for Ragnarok. Honestly, if it's fire or water, I may have a shot at winning it. If it's thunder or anybody else, I probably won't. But, anyways, there's always elemental missions with these raid events, so it's only for extra tickets if you don't happen to do it, so it's not that much of a drawback. However, raid tickets are pretty farmable, and then on top of that too, you do want to try and grind out the raid gacha if possible, so you can get extra magic jewels and stuff. But also keep in mind that there's an expert one too, where you have to use R rarity Kamihime, so anybody that's doing towers already got a good idea of that, or guild order, because you needed R rarity Kamihime for some of the stuff in that. Speaking of which, Tower of Malice is still going on. I'm going to have more videos of that coming soon. In fact, I'm going to knock out a few more keys after I do this video. But anyways, be wary of the rarity mission and the elemental mission if you want extra tickets. If not, it's not too much of a drawback. But it is 80 tickets if you get both, so there's that. Anyways, moving on, like I said, this is a raid event, so you can call in help from other players unless you're going for the missions. And it is going to be for pretty much SSR add-ons and weapons, and then also SR character for free. Goes without saying that we do as much as you can on the event, because even newer players can get a lot of stuff from this. And I'm going to go over some of the stuff here, but then go in-game to actually get details for other things as well. So that's what's going to happen. But anyways, it's the same usual setup. You just go in, clear standard to get expert materials, clear expert to get Ragnarok materials. If you're not starting your own raids, it doesn't matter. But if you are, then you will have to farm these materials. In my case, it's not that hard, because I've gotten a lot stronger since these events have originated. And then other players can do the same. It's more dependent on what your grid is, if you can solo it or not. But at the same time too, like I said earlier, light element's going to be the one that has the advantage, and even if you don't have light element, there is no disadvantage, so there's that. The worst case is probably dark against dark, because it's going to lower your debuffing chances. Apparently, same element is the worst debuffing chance for dark and light. It would be weakness if they had one though. So be wary of that if you are using a dark team for this event. Your chances of debuffing her will be decreased because of that. But also, in order to start every single fight, you need to be at least rank 16. So keep that in mind. But it's really not that hard to get rank 40 if you want to be honest. You can do that in one day if you grind it out. I'm not kidding. Even further. But especially if you pick a Sunday to grind it out. But anyways, when it comes to this event, it's a repeat. Well, not really a repeat, but the characters more or less have been reused, for lack of better words. So this is one of the first events that we've gotten where it reuses the characters but gives them different effects and elements and stuff. So keep that in mind. But anyway, starting off with standard, 850,000 HP to go through. It seems like there's quite a few things you have to watch out for just at a quick glance, but we'll go over it. And the enemy's defense is unchanged, so it's the standard 10. But anyways, when it's in normal mode and it has full orbs, it will apparently hits an enemy twice, or maybe randomly, by the looks of this. Sometimes Google Translate isn't exactly clear about that. But it also reduces your darkness resistance, so it's going to debuff your defense technically. And then when it goes into raging and it gets full orbs, it's going to do the same thing, only it's going to grant damage cut to itself. So either way, it's going to hit 2 people at most, from what it's saying off of this. The trigger, however, is where it gets a little bit different. Whenever it hits half HP and its orb count is max, it's going to pretty much hit everybody on your team, apply an 11-turn blind by the looks of it, and it's going to pretty much delay what you do for the most part. And keep in mind, the damage cut is going to reduce the damage you deal by half. So you have to keep that in mind. And it's not a long duration for half of this stuff either. Apparently it's not too much to really hinder you, aside from maybe the defense reduction, which comes in darkness resistance, and then the damage cut. But also keep in mind, if your elemental resistance is reduced, that also reduces your chances of resisting status effects. So anybody with that darkness reduction is going to be hit with the blind a lot easier. And it is an 11-turn blind, so keep that in mind. Anyways, moving on to expert, 7,200,000 HP, which seems about standard now. And the defense is also 10. Only this time you have to worry about 2 orbs instead of 3, so it's going to do its raging and normal moves a lot faster. Speaking of which, these seem to be somewhat dangerous to fight entirely, because you have to pay attention. First off, normal mode, when it's full orbs, hits 7 times randomly. So if this targets one person, it can do a lot of damage or even outright kill them. When it in raging, it is single target, but a lot of damage apparently. And it also inflicts curse. And if I remember, curse prevents healing. So that could be a problem. Now, going even further, its half HP trigger is going to pretty much put itself in it says counter offensive, so my guess is it's got a counterattack buff. Yeah, it's got a counterattack buff if I'm reading this. That means the lower its HP gets, the more damage it should be dealing. So that's what it should be, according to what counterattack is listed as debuff effects and whatnot. There's sometimes where it's listed as it will counter any hits it takes, literally, like a reflect. But either way, this could be a problem, so you do want to try to remove it. When its HP hits 25%, however, it gets really, really dangerous. It will put Ruin on you. What Ruin is pretty much like an instant death move. If you do not remove it in time, it will kill whoever is affected by it. So you have to get rid of it. You absolutely have to get rid of it. Now, characters that will really help out in this fight are characters like Soul, Eros, anybody that can manipulate turn counts and whatnot, give you some healing from debuff effects and whatnot. Some that aren't SSR that come to mind are characters like Bog and there's a few Arhime that do it too. But keep in mind that you have to really worry about debuffs in this fight, because some of them can get in your way quite a bit. Curse is definitely a dangerous one, especially since the last 6 turns. So she's got more than enough time to put Curse on multiple people if she wants. And then on top of that, the biggest thing is definitely that ruin effect. If you do not get rid of it, you will see somebody get instant killed. So be absolutely sure to get rid of it. Now, the counterattack, depending on how strong you are, you more than likely would want to get rid of it. But believe it or not, it seems to be the least dangerous thing in all of this. It's still dangerous, because if it is the one I'm thinking about, then it works like a pride effect for the enemy, and the lower her health, the more damage she starts doing. So that will be a problem, especially since it's a permanent buff too on top of it, so you have to remove it, otherwise it will stay forever. But other than that, this is more having control of what she puts on herself and what she puts on you, so keep that in mind. This might actually be a blessing to have a dark team against her, because that will lower her chances of debuffing you, so keep that in mind. But at the same time, if you're using light, then she's got the worst chances of debuffing you. So if I was to say anything, you'd probably want to pick dark if you don't have light, just to be able to deal with these debuffs a lot better. But either way, you have to use who you have. There's characters among other elements too, especially water, that can remove effects and whatnot. I know Aphrodite's an SSR that's really good at it, so there's that. There's a few Arhime that can do it too. I think a Tohime was one of them, or Kushinada. I forgot which one. But there's some Hime that can actually help across multiple rarities, so keep that in mind. Now for this one, Ragnarok is practically the same, only she has roughly about 3 times the HP. So it's 21 million you have to deal with, and she will hit harder, so keep that in mind. The difference between Ragnarok and Expert is definitely more damage and HP. So be very, very careful of her counterattack in this state, because it's going to be more deadly. So keep that in mind. They do recommend Andromeda and Shingen, but honestly, if I was to pick any healing soul, I would go for, if you have her, Cassiopeia, and put Vivian's debuff removal on her. Because Cassiopeia comes with Chaos Magic, which will remove buffs off the enemy. You do that, you'll be covered pretty nicely. And they say Shingen because of the fact that you want to try and take out her health before she hits the triggers as well. Honestly, that's only for the really strong people. Me personally, burst time, I can probably just double shot her very quickly. But I wouldn't go Shingen if you're going to do that. I would instead take Mordred, so you increase your resistance but lower her towards debuffs, because that's what Vicissitudes of Fortune does. And then you can also increase her orb count too with that. So honestly, this is the one time I actually would go against the wiki and say pick Andromeda or Mordred for best results. I mean, not Andromeda, Cassiopeia. Andromeda is good, but Cassiopeia is probably better. Now, if you got other characters that can cover that stuff, like the debuff removal and the healing and all that, then you probably could go with Andromeda if you do need a healer. But other than that, I would probably say go with Mordred, because Mordred definitely comes in handy a lot for fights like this. And of course, you go get blue souls from Expert, or Standard, because that's possible too, and red souls from Ragnarok. So if you want to be honest, you can complete the entire blue list just by spamming Standard. It's doable, especially in cases like Burst Time, where you can just go in there and nuke and be done, because most players can do that. If you can do about 850,000 with a full burst, then you can easily do that in burst time. But in order to clear all the SSR stuff, you need 50 blue, 55 red. In order to clear the entire list, you pretty much need 250 blue and 100 red. But to get the majority of the good stuff, it's 225 blue and 95 red. But either way, grind as much as you possibly can, if you ask me, because the raid gacha is going to give you a lot of this various stuff. It will give you gems, it will give you magic jewels, it gives you energy seeds, it gives you plus Eidolons and plus weapons. And honestly, this seems to be the best chance to get plus Eidolons because the gem gacha doesn't really feed them too much. And then it also can give you some materials like dragon bones and whatnot. And you may more or less want to stock up on those because we got some stuff later down the line that will really burn through your materials, so keep that in mind. And then if you're lucky, you'll get duplicates of the SSR stuff. Speaking of which, this is what we're going to cover a little bit. Now, this is actually a pretty good weapon to go for, because I would go for something like this. And then, the Eidolon itself, it's interesting. Now, I don't know what it says for attack force, but using her as a main, apparently it's 40%, it's either character attack or elemental attack. I don't know which one, but it's 40%. But it also increases defense, meaning that you will take less damage. Now, I don't know the actual multiplication numbers for defense and whatnot, but I do know for a fact that if you have a defense value of 100, then you're taking half damage. So there's that. I don't know full calculation for that, but I do know defense value of 100 is half damage. If you got characters that can somehow get to like 400, they take like 20% damage. If you get somebody to 900, which is only through like special stuff like patience, they take like 1/10 of the damage. Defense has to be really high in order to start really reducing stuff. Simple as that. This will give you a natural bit of it, and you get 2 of them, then that's 30%, so that's not that bad. And it will stack with your buffs. So for newer players, this actually can help you out a bit, because it will start taking less damage in all situations instead of just towards one element. Because some came with elemental resistance or whatnot, this one's just a flat defense, along with some offense. So she's not that bad, and her natural stats are pretty nice too. Because she gets over 2,000 attack and 600 HP, so she's actually worth keeping. And the summon effect too is also counterattack, so it's like a pride buff. So, like I said, if that's the same buff she puts on herself in a fight, then yeah, it's pride. But I know for a fact that using her is a pride buff. So, that said, you could at least have her in the sub slots too, because if your HP drops, prides really want to come in handy. Now, the weapon itself is a glaive, and it's going to have a pride effect of its own. This fight seems to be really based on pride. And it's also going to increase your HP. It's also got a very good base stat of over 2,100, almost 2,200. And the HP is also pretty up there too, at about 130. So this weapon could be argued to be farmable. So for darkness users, you may actually want to farm this. It seems like a worthy weapon. It can give you quite a few pride and defender effects, so you might want to get 2 copies if you want to be honest. So there you go, especially if you got a glaive set up. So if you happen to have the phantom glaive, which I don't, I had the bow and the sword. I mean, no, I had the staff and the sword. Then you want to go for this weapon. Glaive users will want to try and get this. Other weapons that may interest you, depending on what your setup is and how far you gotten. There's a light gun, a darkness gun, and a darkness spear. But the darkness spear is really only a placeholder if you really need a spear effect on your dark grid, because it's only just defender. There's a weapon that gives defender and assault technically, so you probably don't need to go for the spear. The gun, on the other hand, is more assault, and darkness did have a gun, I believe, that was pretty strong for guardian, so this can actually make it a little bit closer towards a gun setup for darkness. And I wouldn't recommend light gun too much unless you really want to push that setup, but this does come with stinger, so that's what key attack basically means by the translation. So that means it's really only a placeholder, because stinger's only useful if you're fighting a dark enemy. because Stinger only works with advantage. But anyways, here's a quest that you have to go through. Our Kamihime for expert, and it is Thunder for Ragnarok, so I'm probably not going to be able to solo that one. My Thunder team does have 100% on Dawn, but their weapon grid is not all that great, so there's a very good chance they won't survive. But anyways, that's it for the wiki. I'm going to go in game because I do want to show off what the Adon does. Also, most people don't know, if you click that before the game loads, the character's removed from this background. That's how I keep doing that. But I'm going to check and see exactly what she does in game so I can literally read her description, because that's what I want to do. And yeah, we have a lot of stuff now. There's guild order, there's guild competition, there's tower. This little event for Haruhi crossover is about to end, so get your stuff out of there while you can. And then there's this raid event, which also only lasts for like a week, so you're going to have to balance these two out. The advent for Haruhi crossover and the Valentine's event. You will have to balance them both. So keep that in mind. And also, I have not started this yet, because I only went in there to get one little mission clear, basically. But double checking the rewards. And it really doesn't take much to get a copy of the character. Oop, I went too far, actually. There she is. Yeah, it's character attack, but it's still useful as at least a sub-slot, so she's worth keeping regardless. But if you do have to use her as a main, just be sure that you're getting Assault here, and you're getting a bit of a defensive buff. It's not Defender, it's a defense buff. And also she comes with a Pride buff, which acts like Assault basically, but is stronger when you have more HP gone. So all in all, you can get access to a lot of Assault in this one event just to hold you until you get better stuff. So that's something to keep in mind. The weapon itself, though, is actually pretty strong, though. So you gotta remember that. Because the weapon itself is Pride and Defender. And keep in mind that this says Abyss Pride, so this is medium. What that means is that it will have the same base increase as a large, but it's got a less increase per HP loss. So when you do get it to skill level 20, it will still be a 10% base, but it will give you less per increment. I think at most it'll give you 10.4% instead of the 19 that large gives. Because that's what medium is. Medium's got the same base as large, but it's got the same increase per HP loss as small. So it's like an in-between. A really weird in-between. But either way, it's not a bad idea to try and get a few of these weapons, because even medium's still pretty good if your HP starts dropping. And then it's Assault and Defender in 2 and 1, so it's still worth getting, even though it can't Final Break. But if you are going for a Glaive Grid, try to get this. But anyways, that's all for this. Like I said, there's the collaboration thing for Haruhi. It's still there, so if you haven't pulled her, try for it. You may have been one of the 10 lucky people to actually get her from the Twitter campaign, so double check that. I will have that in the thing. There's also this questionnaire too. You'll get a free gacha ticket. Just do it. It's free stuff, basically. As far as I can tell, there's no other announcements or news that's happened on this thing. So there's that. But anyways, this last chance thing is it's got the higher drop rate, I've noticed, because I think it starts off at 20, but then they give you a paid gacha for 30. So honestly, this is probably your best bet at getting them if you can actually spare the money for it. But me personally, I'm kind of done with trying for Haruhi, because unfortunately, I don't have too much faith in getting her, and even if I did, I'm using light more than any other element, because I still need weapons for fire in order to get their HP up, unfortunately. So, that said, if I do miss out on her, it's fine. It does hurt a lot because she is a very strong Kamihime, but at the same time, you can still work around it if you don't have her. Just know that you do pull her, you've got a very good advantage. But anyways, that's all for this. More is going to come soon, and like I said, I'm going to go right to the tower to try and do that. But anyways, that's all for now, guys, and take care.